Hey there, everyone. I am going to go over with you today some of the things that I went over with Bella in our meeting, and I feel like it's going to be beneficial to the whole group if you have an opportunity, if I can kind of replicate for you what I went over with her and with the few others that I've met with about their individual papers. So let's get started. You have my example, but I want to kind of go over the parts of it and how to begin and get you all started. So you'll begin the rhetorical analysis with first, the hook. I posted during class on Wednesday, I posted some hook ideas. I think it's attached to last Friday's week 9's Friday's assignments, but I think it's called hook ideas. That's the first thing that you do in your paper. Now, the great thing about this is if you don't have an idea for a hook just yet, you can kind of skip that part and move ahead and come back to that later. Sometimes really good hook ideas will come to you as you're writing, and then you can go back to it. But nonetheless, that's still the first thing that will eventually be in your paper. The next thing is a discussion of context and exigence. You will get this from your rhetorical situation, your discussion of rhetorical situation from the close engagement with a text. Because within the rhetorical situation, you identify the speaker, the occasion, the audience, the exigence, the genre, and so forth. So you should already have that discussion, that content right there for this portion of the paper. The next thing is your thesis. And contrary to what you've been working on, really, if you took AP Lang or if you've in English class, they've kind of told you that you always put your main points in your thesis statement. And that's true to an extent for some papers. But the really more highly evolved thesis statements don't actually do that. So your thesis does not have to have main points listed, but it should state what you believe the speech accomplishes. Now, I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. But it should not include I. You shouldn't say, I think this speech accomplishes blah, blah, blah. But it should nonetheless state what you believe the speech accomplishes without saying I in there. The very next thing so far in your rhetorical analysis will be discussion of the speaker. You're picking relevant information that is pertinent to the content of the speech about the individual speaker. Why is he or she kind of an authority on this content? What makes him or her a valuable resource on this subject or this information? You will get this from your audience inventory. I just copied and pasted some of the elements. I added to it and moved some things around to make it flow within the paragraph, but essentially I took that information from my audience inventory. Then you'll go into the overview of the speaker's purpose. This should be in your summary of your text, short project number 2, because your summary should include the main points of the author's speech, the overall purpose of it, because you summarized a 15-page, potentially 2,000-word speech into a paragraph. So it should be condensed information about the overview of the speaker's purpose and his or her main points. So I would get the overview of the speaker's purpose from the summary of the text. Then you have a discussion of primary and secondary audience. This too I got from my audience inventory. And similar to my discussion of the speaker, in most cases I just took exact sentences from my audience inventory. Okay, so let's just recap. You've got hook, discussion of the context of the speech, the exigence, which is the emergent, the reason why this speech is necessary, your thesis that does not have to have 3 main points, discussion of the speaker, overview of the speaker's purpose, and discussion of the primary and secondary audience. If we look at mine, I've gone over that here. Here's my hook. This right here is the orange is discussion of the context of the time period, and the exigence, which is the importance, the need, the reason why this speech needs to be delivered. My thesis, which is Kutcher confronts his audience with an alarming issue which rouses a sense of urgency that simply cannot be ignored. That's my thesis. Then you have information about the speaker. Then you have discussion of the overall purpose. Then you have discussion of the primary and secondary audience. And that's the point at which the rhetorical analysis begins with the body of the work. So it says, then the analysis of the speech itself begins. So when I was working with Bella, we talked about her speech. Hers is this Michelle Obama speech at the Elizabeth Garrett Anderson School for Girls, I think it is. So you have with you have your writing chunks. You have a reverse outline done of your speech, and you have the functions of the paragraph or the functions of the different chunks or the main ideas already done. And that should really, really help you with this. So when I was talking to Bella, we were kind of looking, we're like, okay, so she does a lot of thanks, starts out, and we have to decide what is the first thing that we need to start analyzing? Because it's logical to organize your paper chronologically through the speech. Now, let me see if I can explain this. For those of you who took AP Lang, typically what you're used to is that in a rhetorical analysis, you pick 3 main points or 2, and those are the rhetorical techniques like similes or imagery or a certain type of diction. And then your body paragraphs are based on those techniques. But for a rhetorical analysis of this sort, not a timed one for a certain test, like true rhetorical analysis, it makes the most sense to analyze the speech in the order in which the speech appears. So what you got to do is pick out the logical chunks of the speech, and the very first thing that you're going to talk about within the speech, after all of the things I just told you, after the hook and after these things right here. After you do all of this, and you actually get to analyzing the speech itself, you need to pick what the first logical chunk is that you need to discuss. So when I was working with Bella, we came up with, after her thanks and all this good stuff. So her thanks it gets here. She's talking about the students and she thanks them. You know what? I'm going to take that back. Right about here. Right here is where she starts getting into some content. So she says, she's talking directly to her audience right here. And what we came up with, that this was right here, this was a chunk. This right here was something that we needed to discuss the rhetoric of, the appeals and the technique. So we had to take a look at what was being said here. So let's take a moment to read what is said. It says, "It was clear to me that you all were so very special. I was blown away by your talent. You all put on a performance for me at the drop of a hat, and I understand you didn't even really know I was coming, but you put on such a performance. And I was also impressed with your achievements. I was inspired by your passion and your energy. And I felt this strong sense of connection with all of you because in your stories, I saw so much of my own story. So I knew that this next time that I came to the United Kingdom, I wanted to visit with all of the students again. And I knew that I wanted to visit with all of you in a place like this. Look around. I mean, just look around. Just look at this. A renowned university that has trained so many of the world's brightest minds and greatest leaders. And I'm not the only one who's excited to see you all here today. Students and faculty at this university were eager to visit with you all as well. And there's a reason for that. It's because of all of us. And it's important for you to know, hold on, I just got distracted. And it's important for you to know that all of us believe that you belong here, that this is a place for you as well. We passionately believe that you have the talent within you, you have the drive, you have the experience to succeed here at Oxford and at universities just like it across the country and across the world, because you attend a school that has been labeled outstanding, a school that's preparing you for whatever course of study you might choose. Okay, so we were talking about this section. I mean, it's 4 paragraphs. It's worthy of discussion because it's a logical chunk of the speech, and it's at the beginning of the speech, so we need to talk about it. So now, when I was talking to Bella about it, I asked her, what is the reason why she spends 4 paragraphs talking to these girls about how they're worthy? And that brought me to the exigence. The exigence of a speech by Michelle Obama at a girls' school, and her taking 4 paragraphs to build these girls up and let them know that they are worthy. The exigence, the thing that makes it necessary for her to have to do this, is because we live in a world where girls get torn down from the moment that they, I would say, adolescence. If you'll remember from the Like a Girl Always commercial, and it that was kind of the similar theme to the reason why there's the exigence for this speech, because girls get torn down and get told that they're not good enough. We compare ourselves to others, and by comparison, we often fall short or feel like we fall short. So the reason why she dedicates a chunk of her speech at the very beginning is to empower her audience, to build confidence in them, and to just set the record straight at the very beginning, that whatever they may have heard in the past about their abilities or inabilities, to know that they are worthy. And the reason why she has to say it is because they don't know it. You have to be told. And what better person to do that than Michelle Obama? Okay, so that is the overall function of that chunk. It's not a paragraph, it's a reading chunk. So then we sat down and we were like, okay, which quote are we going to use to prove that? Which quote do we want to discuss that has a technique going on? It's got some type of, I don't know, logos, ethos, or pathos. And we decided on this one right here. It's when she said, I wanted to visit with the students, get right here. And I knew that I wanted to visit with all of you in a place like this part right here. Look around. That short telegraphic sentence. It's a command. It's a call to action to them. It's a command to her audience. Look around. I think she even maybe means it literally. Like, I want you to see who you are sitting among. I mean, just look at this. A renowned university that has trained so many of the world's brightest minds and greatest leaders. So technique-wise, we've got syntax. This right here is parallelism. Sorry. Let's see. And this right here, it's almost like, it sounds like she herself is just kind of like in awe of the girls. So what we came up with was, this right here. First, what you need to do when you get to the body paragraphs, that your analysis of the rhetoric of the speech, is the first thing you should do is orient your reader to the speech itself. So Michelle Obama takes a moment to encourage her audience to reflect on their own accomplishments. That's what's going on in the speech at the time. Then identify the appeal that is used. What appeal is used, and honestly, it could be a mixture of some, but what we came up with in our discussion, Bella and I were discussing that we think it helps the audience to believe in their credibility, their ethos. So we discussed this as an ethos example. She establishes their credibility by building them up, ethos, through and we were trying to find a word that would fit right here, but I wanted to move on and get my ideas out. So we have to come back to that. And hopefully Bella's figured something out. But then you select a quote that represents the chunk. So again, back at this. So we've got the reading chunk here. Of this whole reading chunk of the speech, we needed to pick a quote that was going to represent the overall function of that. So we chose that one. And what we said about, now this is not written the way that it will be in the paragraphs, but we were just kind of getting our ideas out. Look around. I mean, just look at this. A renowned university that has trained so many of the world's brightest minds and greatest leaders. So the look around part helps the audience to realize that they're not alone. It builds a sense of solidarity. The part that says, I mean, just look at this. A renowned university. It reveals how impressed she, the former first lady, is. It shows her awe. And if she believes this, the girls might be more convinced to believe it themselves. The part that says, brightest minds and greatest leaders, that parallelism, hints at her eventual call to action, which is to take their education and knowledge and use it for the betterment of others. This part right here, they all have bright minds. Take those bright minds and sow into other women, other young ladies, others in their community, others in the world, and use what's been given to them and believe that you're strong enough to be able to do that and sow into the world around you. Okay, so my purpose for showing you this is to, first of all, just kind of recap what the overall structure will be, which again is going to be starting your paper will be like this. You don't even get into the actual analysis of the speech itself until probably a page and a half into your rhetorical analysis. But I don't want you to get stressed out about that because you really honestly already have a lot of this stuff figured out. You're orienting the reader, you're like getting them knowledgeable about the speech itself, an overview. But then when you get to the actual analysis of the speech, you will, as we said before, take your speech. This is Bella's. You're going to have your own. You've got your notes and your annotations on the logical functions of a paragraph and the reading chunks. Then you pick, go chunk by chunk, and you decide, okay, this is an important thing. It's an important point. What's the best quote to prove that? Once you've picked the best quote, this is what you'll do right here. You'll orient the reader to the part of the speech, that section of the speech, kind of the gist of what's going on. Maybe it takes a few words. Maybe it takes a sentence or two. It's not really a length as much as it is a checklist item. Then you need to identify the appeal that is used. Now, it can end up sounding repetitive if you keep saying the author uses logos or the author uses pathos, and then you keep on saying that same phrasing all throughout your paper. So you should do things to kind of change it up by using synonyms. I tried to highlight some things in my paper to show you examples for ways that I was able to do it. So just make sure that you aren't repetitive in the way that you introduce the appeal. And then the next thing is you use the quote that you selected from the chunk to represent the big idea, and then you discuss the effect of that and purpose. So you take the parts that are the technique, and again, this is what I told you. This is a telegraphic sentence. You don't even really have to. I don't even care necessarily if you call it by name. You will see in my paper that there are some examples of me where I've highlighted in my annotations that I do call it by name. I say it's an anecdote, or I say it's an allusion. You can. It certainly adds credibility to your paper if you know what it's called. If you don't know what something is called, meet with me. Let me know, and I can meet with you and help you out. But this is telegraphic syntax. And that, as I said, this is parallelism. And she even, this right, I mean, just look at this. So this wording, I mean, that's very conversational. It's what we call colloquial. It's conversational language. Here she is at this kind of formal event, but she says, I mean, just look at this. And the effect of that is to show the awe that she has. And the effect of her awe is that she is Michelle Obama. I mean, if she is impressed by you, that really means something, which leads to, if she's impressed, then maybe I should be a little bit impressed in myself. Maybe my confidence can build and I can do something for others, and it all kind of works together. So you'll do this, you'll keep on doing this until you've completed your speech. So what Bella, I'm sure, has probably already started doing is she goes to, what's the very next big idea? Big idea. We're talking main chunks. I do not expect you to do this for every paragraph. I want you to pick what logical ideas go together. So look at your functions of a paragraph and see which ones go together. So like if you have 5 or 6 paragraphs in a row and you say that the function of this is, and you see a repeating of what the function is, maybe the reading chunk is those 5 paragraphs together. What do they achieve or accomplish? Okay, hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help.